Hello everyone, I'm Medslave and welcome to VoD of FE7. In the past, I've showcased a clear of a conditional 3 turn of this map, which fishes for a crit on Stella, 1 in 4 crits with Heath, and that's about a 50% chance of success to clear on turn 3, and if not, we transfer to a 4 turn. But the problem with that strat, or at least the limitations there, is that it requires 20 magic Lucius, which is pretty steep, even in a complete recruitment playthrough where you have a lot of time to train in the defend slash turn floor, or defend slash waiting for Harkin and Farina maps. But this clear instead is going to be a 4 turn, which just uses 14 magic on Lucius, which makes it also viable for Canas if he reaches warp rank. What we do turn 1 is we use a 5 range rescue with Priscilla and a 9 range warp with Pen, which are pretty much the minimum ranges that they'll have. And we warp and rescue Heath as far forward as we can so that he can kill that bishop that has Berserk. He needs the boots to do this, but boots Heath is kind of assumed if he has the stats to boss kill. And this lets us not worry about Berserk, but Heath's stats need to be really high, not just for Stella, but also because we need to... Well, I guess in this case, his stats for Stella is less sensitive because he 2-rounds her, but he still needs the stats he needed to potentially 1-round Stella in the 3 turn, because he needs to face a lot of generics with the Javelin and not a stronger weapon, since he needs the 1-2 range in a lot of places. And that means his strength needs to be about as high as it was before, if not higher, or for the other clears rather, if not higher, or as high as it can go with a strength cap of 27, which is it's probably not 90% likely, but if you get a lot of chances to feed Heath over the latter half of the game with all the defend maps, and so he definitely hits it on his averages, and he can probably be a little bit screwed. It's probably in the 70 to 80% ranges to ballpark it. Also depends on complete recruitment or incomplete recruitment in terms of how many levels you're getting, but yeah. So he kills all these Wyvern Riders with the Javelin. He doesn't kill the Wyvern Ward with a Javelin, but that's okay. As long as most of the Wyverns are dead, it's fine. We can just drop Pen and with Vida, and that Wyvern Ward will die later. Moving Heath as far forward as we did also got the Shamans and Druid to spawn near Stella. This is okay. This is actually a good thing for us because we want to get those guys out of the way next turn so that they're not clogging up the throne area for when we warp Hector eventually. Heath does need to just dodge Lamau in a lot of these places. His chances of doing that are pretty high because the enemies only have a lot of these enemies only have 20 to 30 hit on him, such as the bolting, the ballista, the wyverns. But and the shamans have even same thing. So it's a little. I'd say it's pretty likely that Heath is not going to get hit enough to die. What we do to take down here is we need to get that Lightbrand hero out of the way so that we can move Hawkeye there. We danced Jafar and moved Marcus so that we could do it without relying on crits. But after we take care of them, we're going to warp Hawkeye 7 tiles forward into the mountains with Lucius. And what we're going to also do is we're going to make use of the other 2 promoted flyers that we have left. This could be Florina and Fiora if you skip Farina, but since we had Farina for this save file, we use Farina. And one of them is going to transport Warp over to Pen, and then the other is going to start flying towards the village with Renault in it. As you can see, she's within 2 movements away from getting there. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for what the rest of the team needs to do for this turn. And actually, the starting crew is not going to do much of anything on turn 4, or turns 3 or 4. What we do need to worry about, though, is, well, this Wyvern Lord doesn't have very high chances to hit Pen, thanks to the Ice Affinity bonus that we have from picking our Ice Affinity Tactician for Marcus's sake more, but it ends up working out with Pen as well. And we needed to pull a couple of those monks and that bishop over there away from the bridge and the little island with Pen and Vida on it, because they'd get in the way of Hector. But, so while Heath's gonna wipe out some of them, they don't take, the monks and bishop do basically no damage because of the Pure Water boost, and they only have lightning. These shamans, they do a little bit of damage per hit, but they have like 20 hit. And Heath, so Heath just killed all of them in return. He doesn't kill that Wyvern Lord, but as you'll see, that Wyvern Lord doesn't really need to die. That warrior, that killer bow could be a problem, but these ballista are pretty pathetic on. They only, like, these ballista only have like a kind of similar hit to the shamans, aka basically none. The sniper does manage. The snipers do manage to hit him though, which is fair. They have a little higher. Not the longbow though. The longbow's pretty pathetic. And the druid does hit him. As you see, that druid attacked from one range, and we do need that to happen. We need if the druid's gonna be left alive because our javelin accidentally breaks mid-combat, we want it to happen. We want him to attack from one range so that we can just fly away from him and he can't reach us anymore. So on turn 3, we give Warp to Pen, and we rescue Hawkeye. As I said before, Ninus' Grace is still applied to Hector since he's been in the saddlebags this whole time, which means Hector's completely safe once he gets dropped. And Hawkeye and Vida are just going to hang out next to Hector, and they'll attack something if it needs to be, if they need to next turn, but as it turns out, they don't really need to. Heath is going to Elixir in front of Limstella's face, which is perfect because Limstella does hit pretty hard. But we, thanks to our massive strength that we needed in other places in the map, we comfortably 2-round Limstella. And because no one else is in her bolting range, she just uses Fimbulvitr. We managed to crit her, which is kind of a little funny since, you know, the whole point was to safely 2-round her. But if this hadn't happened, we would have just attacked our player base, finished her off, and then seized, as planned. But yeah, so Pen, even if it got hit by the other Wyvern, still quite safe from these other two Wyverns, because on the forest and his innate high avoid. These monks kind of pathetically tank Hawkeye, and they will also block the sniper from using a silver bow on Hawkeye, which is pretty nice for us because these ballistas do a fair amount of damage to Hawkeye, but this one opts to go for Vida instead and also does a fair amount of damage. The longbow, as you can see from longbow damage, the silver bow would be a little more threatening. Now that it's turn 4, we can just really clean up. I mean, we can finish off the stall if we have to. Get Hawkeye out of the way of Pen. Warp Hector. This Pen has more than his base magic, but that's not incredibly likely to happen. We just got lucky. So we warp 9 range, Pen's base magic. And then we visit the village of Florina to get Renault. We get Cecilitani, which is useless. As well. And that is VoD in 4 turns. I think Heath, yeah, that's not the right one. There we go. That turn. 4 turns. See you next time.